Hello, everyone, and welcome back to We've Got the Keys, Mortgage Talk with the Broad Squad. June is National Homeownership Month. Yay! We love National Homeownership Month. This month is meant to raise awareness on the home ownership and helping people obtain the American dream that we are all looking for. In honor of Homeownership Month, when we spun the wheel last month, the activity we picked was a themed set. So as we build our podcast here, we are looking to build our home or our set. So welcome to the beginning stages of this. We are still under construction for a backdrop, but we have our lovely green tablecloth, which represents GRB. That's our colors here, and our plants, which we love. And we will be developing our set as the months go along to finally make this our home.
If you have any ideas, feel free to subscribe and comment.
Yes.
Below.
Today, we're going to be talking about debt to income, which is a very important part of obtaining a mortgage. But before we start talking about debt to income, we have a new segment we're going to introduce this month, and welcome to the Broad Banter. We're going to tell you a little bit about what's been going on in each one of our lives, personally or professionally, in the last month. And Suzanne is going to kick us off this month.
Oh, great. So that would be talking about the month of May. Month of May was so busy for, everybody, personal and business-wise. So, I don't know.
Were you here?
I was here, but not. I thought you were I was in Maryland for graduation.
Okay, that's right.
My nephew, and the month of May here rained. So if you were a duck, you really loved it. If you were not, guess what? You were inside the house for most of May. So, we were able to help a lot of people get their home in May, so they can celebrate.
I think we had a record-breaking month in May for
new
mortgages.
Yes,
we
did.
were really busy, so that's good.
Yeah, I had a personal best for this year, anyways.
Tina, how about you?
I did not have a personal best.
You didn't?
No. But for the regular, I'm fighting with being my age, and I'm going to say it. Ready? Menopause.
The M word.
I'm so sorry, everybody. I'm so sorry. So I can't wear mascara anymore. I cannot wear mascara anymore. Every time I put mascara on, I end up getting a sty.
Somebody should make menopause mascara.
They should.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm looking for. So ChatGPT, did I say that right?
Yeah, I think so.
You did.
Has become my best friend. Okay.
Yeah.
And I signed up for the $19.99 a month subscription.
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 We have prescriptions
at our age and subscriptions.
I always
have too many
mix that up.
prescriptions.
So it's got me on a thing where I've got to do the warm washcloth on my eyes every day, and I washed my face, but now I'm like really getting careful with it and what type of natural oils to use, and I'm researching menopause mascara, so we'll see what we can find. So that's what's going on with me.
Yeah.
Bonnie, how about you? What's new with you?
May was very busy, personally and professionally. We did have most of us, we had a pretty great month. We were able to help a lot of home buyers in the month of May, which was fantastic. We brought our younger son home from St. Bonaventure for the summer and got him all of his junk settled back into the house again. So my garage is loaded with his stuff right now, so that's great. But May was a rainy month. I'm ready for the rain to be over with. We need a little bit of sunshine and summertime around here. May was a great month. How about you, Laura?
Yeah, May was a good month. It was really busy on the mortgage side, really busy on the home equity line of credit side, really busy helping as many people get pre-approved as they can. It's funny that you mentioned menopause, Tina, because the best thing that happened to me in the month of May was I got a menopause patch. Kind of like a nicotine patch, but instead of making you stop smoking, it makes you stop yelling at people.
Yeah, being crazy.
And it's really it's like I yell at far fewer people now that I have the menopause patch.
So for those younger viewers out there, you might be seeing this with your parents.
Or it's going to happen to you someday. Just don't even think
it's
of it.
It's a real game changer.
But see, I can't imagine you yelling at anyone.
In my mind, I yell at a lot of people. Well, it doesn't always
great in your
translate.
mind.
You look great for
But
you.
yeah, everybody's
good,
good, and business is good, and the family
alive.
is good, and Steve's still alive, and
Yep. That's
everything's
great.
good. What more can you ask for?
What more can
Yes.
you ask for?
That makes me happy.
Good broad banter this
Yeah.
month. I
All right.
like it. Yes.
Oh,
So-
righty.
Now,
We're going to get
So,
into our topic of debt to income. And Suzanne is going to kick us off and explain a little bit about what debt to income is.
Well, I'm going to try anyways. So, debt to income. You might also hear it as DTI, as we call it in the mortgage world. So, debt to income. So, what that is basically a measure of your monthly income that goes towards paying off your debts, including that future house payment. So remember, the house payment is going to include your taxes and your insurance and sometimes PMI if you have less than 20% down. Different episode. Anyways, we take all of that, we compare it to your gross monthly income. From there, we get a percentage. And with some mortgage programs, we have to stay within a certain guideline of that percentage. Most of the time, we just kind of use that 45% overall debt to income ratio. And again, that includes the house payment as well. So when we're looking at different loan programs, sometimes first-time home buyer programs like Sunny Mae, we might have to look at the housing ratio versus your monthly income. That would be, of course, your housing debt ratio. We're going to look at all of those monthly liabilities you might be paying on that report, plus any other things that you might have, such as child support that wouldn't show up, or some other types of debt that may not be reflective on a report when we pull it. And also, the important thing is, even though a loan originator says, hey, you can afford X, because your debt ratio is underneath this limit, you yourself might have some extra expenses that we're not counting in. Like, for example, childcare. Huge thing these days, right? If you have your children in daycare, there might be an expense for that. You might want to factor into your own liabilities to make sure that you're not exceeding your own personal debt ratio. So yeah, so that's just a little bit about the debt to income ratio and the definition of it. And throughout this, and at the end, I think Laura's going to give us an example. Okay, so who's up next?
Tina's got income.
I do have income. Ooh, I do have income. So this is fun, and important part of our debt to income ratio is obviously figuring out exactly what our income is. And depending on the mortgage type that you're getting, will determine what we can and cannot use. So I always tell people, and it's funny, generally we look for a 2-year history, okay? We want to see a 2-year history because they want to see that you've got consistent work history, okay? That just says that you're a stronger buyer. It talks about the character of the person. Now, if you just graduated a year ago and you were working part-time at Starbucks, but now you have a full-time job and you're earning, that's fine. We know that with the last 2 years, you were in school and now you've got a full-time job. We can utilize that, okay? So anything that's a W-2 where you're getting a weekly pay stub, that's fantastic. That's super helpful. We run into some hiccups when you are hourly, okay? So if you are hourly and you have worked less than 2 years at the particular company, that can be a little bit of an issue depending on what your credit score is, depending on what type of mortgage we are going to use as well. So that's important. I mean, if you're consistent 40 hours, then that makes it pretty easy. If you move from one company to another within that 2-year period, but you're in the same line of business, that also can help make it easy. But if last year you were working at the mall at, I don't know,
JCPenney's.
JCPenney's, thank you. JCPenney's. You were working at JCPenney's and you were making, 20 bucks an hour, and you were consistently working 35 hours a week. And now this year you got a job and you're working at a paralegal's office and you're making $20 an hour and you're working 40 hours a week. I mean, it's a different It's a different line of business altogether, so it could run into some hiccups. If you have a gap in between that time period too that lasts more than 30 days, that can also be an issue. Oh, self-employment.
Yes,
let's talk about that.
I was just going to say.
Thank you.
Self-employment.
So self-employed people, we get that all the time. I've got a lovely lady right now who's been a counselor, therapist for years and years and years, getting a W-2. The last 8 months, she's gone out on her own.
Oh,
I'm
goodness.
making more money. Fantastic. I can't use any of that income. I can't use it. Again, it's back to that 2-year rule.
Yeah.
okay?
Right.
And many self-employed people, I shouldn't say most, but many are doing DBAs or LLCs, single member, and their income is reported annually on their federal tax returns on something called their Schedule C. And we look at that. We don't look at the gross like we do with
Not the
W-2.
gross sales, that's right.
The before taxes. We look at after everything's been kind of
net profit.
yeah, the net profit, exactly. Oh, you know what else I didn't bring up? Rental income.
Yep.
Yes.
So if you own another property and you have rental income that you are reporting on your tax returns, we can use it. Okay?
What if you get paid in cash?
Well, so let me ask you guys this. So again, this is where my lack of experience, I think, comes in. If I'm seeing it on the rent schedule for the last 2 years' taxes, that's what I use.
Yeah.
Are the underwriters then coming back and asking us to see payments be made?
Usually we just want to see it on the Schedule E.
Right.
Yeah,
Right?
right.
Because that's where, remember, your income is what you report to the IRS. So on the Schedule E, that's
So
usually
if
what
you're
we
getting
look at
paid
for
cash
rental
and you're
income.
reporting it on the Schedule E, then you're fine. If you're getting paid cash and you're not reporting it, then we're not
Correct.
going to be able
Yeah,
to
we
use it.
have to report it.
Even if they're doing it as a Venmo and we can trace it back, if it's not on the tax returns, we can't.
That's the importance of having a loan officer that understands the mortgage underwriting guidelines, no matter what agency you're using, whether it's Freddie or Fannie. And you need to have somebody that's educated to guide you properly down that path.
Yeah.
This market is complicated enough. You want to make sure that when you get an accepted offer on anything in this market, whether it's a single family home or your dream of having an investment, that you're not going to have a problem when the loan is being underwritten because you've had a loan officer that's done their due diligence up front.
All right, so
All right.
who is next?
I'm next.
Bonnie.
I'm gonna kick off the debt section of this.
Fantastic.
So we're going to talk a little bit more about what type of debts that we actually look at and that we actually count in your debt to income ratio. So when we pull our tri-merge report that we've talked about before, we take a look at the report, and any debts that are displayed on the report that have a monthly payment on them, we count in your debt to income ratio. So examples of what might be on your credit report are mortgages, if you have a current mortgage. If you're a first-time buyer, obviously you're not going to have a mortgage on there. Car loans, recreational vehicle or personal types of loans, student loans, and credit cards. Those are the main components that are on your credit report. If you have credit cards that do not have any balances on them, we do not include any minimum payments for them. If you do have credit cards with balances, we include just the minimum payment in your debt to income ratio, nothing higher than that. We also look at student loans. Student loans are a hot topic these days. We've gone through lots of craziness with the student loans, I guess I want to say. We've come off of several years of everybody's student loans being in deferment. There are two different types of personal student loans that you may find on a credit report. There are private student loans and federal student loans. The federal loans have a little bit more wiggle room with what you do with them than the private loans do. The private loans typically have a minimum monthly payment or a fixed monthly payment that you pay each month. The federal loans will have that as well, but when you do start paying your federal loans, there are a few different options. There's a few different terms in which you can amortize them over. And there's also something called an income-based repayment plan that you can also enter into. Now, there are some things we can do with debt. If your debt to income ratio ends up being a little bit high, it is possible that we could restructure some of the debts or manipulate some of the debts to the point where we maybe won't have to include them or can include a lower payment. So I'll take a car loan, for example. If you are leasing your vehicle, we count that monthly payment, and that monthly payment is counted regardless. If you own the automobile and you have a normal installment loan on the automobile and it's not a lease, if you have 10 months or less of payments, we do not need to calculate that in your debt to income ratio. We can actually exclude it. Some things I've done with people in the past too is if their car loan is very high because they have a really high interest rate on it, sometimes we look to possibly refinance it to reduce the debts.
And hence, this is why it's really important to have this conversation with your loan
Yes,
officer
right.
before you start
Yes.
looking.
Right.
And it's very important for us to do a hard pull of your credit. This is the only way we're going to be able to really do a deep dive into the credit report and figure out what's actually on your credit report. Now, the credit cards, we talked a little bit before about utilization ratios or high balances on credit cards. Paying those down will help you qualify for more, and it will also improve your credit score as well. Now, there are some other debts that we would calculate into your debt to income ratio that are not counted on your credit report. Those would be child support, alimony, any type of separate maintenance that you are required to pay. Those payments can be pretty high payments in some cases, particularly child support. So it is really, really important that that is disclosed to the loan officer because that can really significantly impact what you qualify for.
How about collections and other negative
Yes.
things that show up? How does that impact your debt to income ratio and credit?
So collections are a very interesting thing. So collections can be on your credit report for quite a number of years. When we put a loan application in, we run it through an automated underwriting system. And often that underwriting system is going to tell you how to treat those debts. If they're very recent collections, if they're under a certain amount, sometimes we can ignore them. If they are over a certain amount, sometimes they would be required to either be paid or we would have to calculate a minimum payment in for them. And it is different from loan program to loan program. So again, it's very important that your loan officer understands the guidelines with those loan programs. Now, let's talk a little bit about some of the debts we don't count, which most people, I think we do for the most part. We do not include any type of utility payments that you currently pay or that you would likely pay on a home. We don't include cable, cell phone bills, car insurance, which in some cases can be very, very expensive right now. We don't include, your maintenance bills each month like groceries or childcare that Suzanne talked about earlier. All of those expenses can add up to quite a bit of money. That is one of the reasons why we use a 45% debt to income ratio, because we know people have those other expenses in their life. Now, one of the things I will say is we have been using a 45% debt to income ratio since the 1980s. And we, as a society, pay a lot more debts monthly than we paid before. And we did not have cable bills, cell phone bills, streaming services. Car insurance wasn't the way it was. Health insurance used to be a lot cheaper. Your health insurance comes out of your paycheck, but we use your gross monthly income. We don't account for health insurance coming out of your paycheck. So I like to have a lot of conversation with people about what is your monthly payment comfort level, because it may not be up to a 45% debt to income ratio.
And everybody's different, right? Everybody spends money differently. Everybody saves money differently, right? So some customers might be more comfortable with a smaller monthly payment. I mean, I think everybody would, but other people may be a little bit more comfortable with a higher monthly payment.
We might have income that we can't include, so it's okay to be a little higher.
That's where you really, as a loan officer, you have to know your customer, right?
That's why it's always always important. Even before you talk to a loan officer, sit down and make a monthly budget yourself.
Yep.
So then okay, when sitting down with my loan officer, we're going to review this, and then you'll know I don't really want to be over this amount for my payment because I do have these other,
And when you set those guidelines, it makes it
Right.
really easy
Yes.
to take the emotion
Yes.
out
Yeah.
of home buying. As
Yeah.
exciting as it is, you walk into a place that you absolutely fall in love with.
Right.
It's your dream home.
Yeah.
And then you start looking at those numbers and you're like, okay, well, I can afford it on debt to income ratio, but I had a conversation that I didn't want to pay $3,500 a month in a mortgage payment.
Right.
You know?
Right. So that's my bit about debts.
Good job.
Laura's going to kind of sum it all up and give you a little bit of an example as to how we do calculate everything and what the end result is. The old-fashioned way.
Yeah.
Fashion way.
So
Pen
in
and
summary,
Yeah.
we calculate the debt to income ratio. It takes 5 minutes, and we will give you some feedback on what an appropriate debt to income ratio would be. But just to give you some rough numbers, if you have $8,000 a month in gross monthly income, so before property or before taxes, and your new mortgage payment was going to be $2,000 a month, your debt to income ratio would calculate your mortgage payment plus your other monthly debt divided into your income. So if we had a $2,000 mortgage payment and $1,000 worth of other monthly debt, and we divide that into our $8,000 gross monthly income, the debt to income ratio is 37%. Perfect. We love to see 37% because that means you've got plenty of money left over at the end of the month to put into your 401k, put into home renovations, take a vacation, go out to dinner, buy some new shoes,
Pay utility bills.
pay utility bills, right? All of those other things. Raise children, right?
Yeah.
We forgot
Very
about that
expensive.
expense.
Yes, they're very expensive.
But we
Don't go
wanna-
there. They may not buy a house.
Oh my gosh. We want to make sure that you have enough money left over at the end of the month so that you can comfortably save and comfortably spend and that you're not married to your mortgage payment.
Right.
Your mortgage payment should be something that's comfortable for you to make.
Yeah.
And so we will calculate the debt to income ratio for you. We will give you some feedback. We will give you some pointers on maybe what your maximum debt to income ratio should be. And it's a really healthy conversation because we want homeowners to be successful. June is National Homeownership Month. We want our homeowners to be comfortable in that mortgage payment.
Right.
So it's a really important conversation. I know that everything today is very electronic, right? Apply online, download the app. Nothing is better than a conversation or a sit-down appointment with your local loan officer because we will go through this with you. We will share the math with you. We will give you some examples. It's the best 45 minutes that you can spend. Really, we want you to be a successful homeowner, and with that, we will give you some pointers on what your debt to income ratio should be based on what your homeownership goals are.
Right.
Well, in summary, I think that's a great explanation of National Homeownership Month and the debt to income
Yes.
ratio.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yes. If
important
anybody has any questions or comments about debt to income ratio, please feel free to put it in the comments below, or you can reach out to any one of us individually. We'll be more than happy to have a conversation with you.
Information is in the YouTube channel site, right?
Yes.
Okay, good.
And our GRB website.
Yes.
GRB website.
Just Google our names, you'll find us.
www.grbbank.com.
Yep. So we do hope that you enjoyed this episode. Please like and subscribe.
Oh, we've got to spin our
And
activity wheels.
we are
have
going
our-
to pick our activities for next month now.
Yay.
All right.
All right, you want to spin this time? This one
Who, me?
is, yeah.
Sure, I can spend.
This one is topic.
Oh, this is our topic. Okay. What fun topic are we going to have next time?
Nobody can see. What does it say?
Oh.
Credit?
Credit breakdown.
I love credit.
Okay, that ties into this
Wow.
perfectly.
Perfect,
It
all right.
sure
So
does.
credit breakdown
Yes.
for
Wonderful.
July.
Credit breakdown.
And then our activity
Is canal walk.
a canal walk on
A
the
canal
Erie
walk
Canal.
on the Erie
Can we
Canal.
get ice cream?
We could get ice cream. Yes.
A great summertime activity.
Yes, that's
Ice cream,
great.
a canal walk, and credit.
Yes.
What's better than that?
Hope you all enjoy the month of June, and we'll see you again in July. Bye everybody.
Bye.